when Peter Navarro was swatted in an airport? Remember when Steve Bannon, on multiple occasions within the U.S. Capitol Police jurisdictional zone, conducted swattings and allowed for swattings to take place of Steve Bannon and his residence? Remember the armed robbery and burglary of Roger Stone that was live streamed by your colleagues over at Criminal News Network?
Yeah.
That we're going to take in the collective and do that, okay?
Okay.
It does not matter what happens in the election. It does not matter who wins the election. This is going to take place at the hands of the American people, with or without an election, and with or without whoever wins the election. I guarantee you that that will take place at the county and state level, because right now the federal government is not in a position because of its capture and its corruption. So imagine this. When you take a look at the direct messages and the geotagged location data of the 350 plus members on that deep state target list, and then you curate that, Elon Musk, and then do geotagging of the communications, and then you present those communications to name the county of the 3,143 county and county equivalents in our nation, the 50 states and the 6 federal districts, right?
Okay.
And then you identify where a treasonous communication took place. And then you present that to the local DA, similar to good old Alvin Bragg. That then will create the nexus to showcase this criminal, conspiratorial, seditious conspiracy and treason charge. And that local DA, the local sheriff, will then be deputizing folks like Ivan Raiklin and those of us that were thrown out of the military because we did not comply with the illegal DNA mutilation injection, the forced DNA mutilation injection.
Do you mean the COVID vaccine?
I'm talking about the CCP-19 lab incident money-making scheme by Pfizer, the Pfizer fail, the Moderna mutilation, or whether it was just a myocarditis-making, heart-exploding J&J jab. So those of us that were either thrown out or left because we would not participate in the DNA mutilation of our own physiological beings, there's 80,000 of us that are ready, willing, and able in order to be deputized by appropriate sheriffs throughout the country to be participants as lawful deputies to conduct a live stream swatting raids of every single person that we can identify that conducted the necessary unlawful activity by county on my deep state target list.
2 questions. Where did you get the 80,000 number? My first question.
Yeah. So 8,600, about 8,500 approximately, were thrown out of the military. Okay.
Because they wouldn't do the vaccine.
Because it wasn't a vaccine. The name of vaccine, the definition changed before the rollout, and it was never approved by the FDA. There was never a product that was approved by the FDA to then be able to coerce and manipulate into other people's bodies. Okay. Don't believe me? Look at the footnote on FDA's own quote-unquote approval of Pfizer's Comirnaty. Legally distinct, and the product was never created. The Pfizer BioNTech was created, but that one was never approved. That was only under emergency use authorization.
Right.
So I need to correct you on that one. You need to do some more studying, ma'am, okay?
I hear you.
Next, 80,000, okay? As far as the 80,000 goes, that's the minimum that I see of folks that left the military early through retirement, ended their careers early because of the illegal mandate that was promulgated by and enforced by the entire chain of command. Those are also going to be, many of the members on the deep state target list are those military leaders, quote unquote leaders, I call them failures, within the Department of Defense and at the Pentagon, that will face similar consequences for forcing and coercing unlawfully the mutilation of another person's body, and thus minimizing and destroying our personal readiness within the DoD.
So this is all post-2020 people you're talking about?
Come on. Are you going to ask that question in that level of ignorance? 2016 Crossfire Hurricane.
No. I mean,
Hello?
I'm saying the 80,000 that you
I
referenced.
mean, at this point, you're wasting my time if you don't even have that level of context. Take a couple hundred hours to research the subject, follow my work on Rumble. Once you see that, I want you to identify one thing that I have incorrect, and then you can start coming after me with questions to scrutinize it, because you have not done the necessary requisite research to for me to even give you my time. So I think that's about it.
Can I ask one last question? You don't have to
It
answer.
better be intelligent.
Well, I don't guess that'll be in the eye of the beholder. You don't think, you were saying it doesn't matter what happens in the election. So you don't think you need sort of the protection of Trump's Justice Department to do some of what you're talking about?
No, because we're going after the Justice Department.
But like,
They are the enemy. That's what you fail to understand. The individuals that I mentioned are the enemy of our constitutional order. We're coming for them maximally. And how we're coming for them is because we are engaging with counties and states in order to crush them.
with via the sheriffs, basically.
What do you think Alvin Bragg's doing right now? Is that a federal officer?
No.
Exactly my point. Look at the counties in this country that are red versus blue. It is overwhelmingly red. So Alvin Bragg and the Dems are setting our precedent as we go on offense.
Okay. Well, thanks, Ivan.
It's going to be a doozy. And I love it when it gets spicy. And there are, again,
I believe you.
out of the 80,000 of us, we are clamoring to be deputized by sheriffs nationwide in order to conduct the necessary live stream raids, if they want to push us to that.
So if I did want to follow up with you, and you
And I'll
wanted
say
to
lastly,
answer, yeah,
there are over 1 million service members. I'm going to say this. Like you said, Secretary of Retribution. The Secretary of Retribution consists of 3 divisions. Number 1, the research arm. And should there be a mechanism where we create it, it's going to be the first division. Is, again, everything I'm telling you, I've already said it publicly. And I have many podcasts where I've said this.
Yeah.
So number 1, we're going to have a research arm to continue to develop our targets. Okay.
Okay.
Number 2, and that's going to be staffed by January 6th defendants, family members, as well as their lawyers, since they have already kind of conducted some of that research. So they're already kind of interned, if you will, over the last 3.5 years. Number 2 will be the 2nd division, which will include the action arm, the 80,000 of us that have decades of conducting this type of activity of actioning targets overseas, right? And the 3rd arm is going to consist of those that will live stream, right? Independent media, obviously not your organization, won't be included in that. But they will ride along. They will ride along and live stream the swattings and raids of the 2nd division that I just mentioned, that are properly and appropriately deputized to conduct those raids. And then the 1st arm is obviously going to be the ones that create those lists. We're just using the playbook and the precedents that has already been developed to target those that conducted lawful First Amendment activity on January 6th and everything downstream from that.
So if you say you don't need, you're not waiting for Trump's election, like when are you planning to do it?
Stand by.
Okay. So
Just keep an eye on things.
Okay. So how could I follow up with you?
So you can follow everything I do online. Everything's public.
But like, if
And
I wanted
advocate,
to ask
again,
you a question.
I advocate for the most. These people are going to experience the most peaceful and patriotic, lawful, moral, and ethical experience of their life.
The swatting and the raiding sounds scarier than lawful and ethical and peaceful.
It's legal, moral, ethical. I said it was peaceful and patriotic. It may not be peaceful for them, but for me, it'll be peaceful.
Okay. So, but if I message you on Twitter or something, that would be a way to answer questions?
Publicly. You can comment on me, on my posts publicly.
Okay.
And I'm going to post this.
Okay.
Again, your name?
Zoe Chase.
Okay.